Hello and welcome back to For You. It's Reese and Elsie back for day 2 of our article, The Facial Tattoos of Taiwan's Indigenous Peoples. So what did we learn yesterday, Elsie?
We learned that a woman that died when she was the age of 97, and she was the last woman to get a facial tattoo. Am I right?
I think, yeah, she was one of the last people to have the facial tattoos because it's a tradition that has maybe disappeared over the years. And we also learned about a girl who had a dream, right?
Right. She had a dream and she dreamt that if she tattooed her chin, her cheeks, and her forehead, she would survive the disease.
Yeah, and it kind of worked. And so that's the origin story of the facial tattoos of some of these indigenous peoples. Well, today we're going to continue reading our article about these facial tattoos. But before we dive in, I wanted to ask you, Elsie, are there any famous indigenous people in Taiwan that maybe I've heard of?
Oh, there are a lot of famous indigenous artists. 原住民的歌手啦，或者是演电影的人啦，都有很多是原住民族 ，like 阿美。
Ame, I know Ame. She's a singer, right?
Right, 然后她是卑南族的。
卑南族. I think
did she? 张震岳 so many singers.
Cool. I should definitely do some research because maybe they're singing sometimes in their, their indigenous languages, which could be, a new experience compared to just listening to English or Mandarin songs.
Their voice is always beautiful.
Yeah. Let's get into the article and learn more about these tattoos.
Okay.
Reading.
The facial tattoos of Taiwan's indigenous peoples. Facial tattoos also played an important role in the lives of Atayal, Sedic, and Trugu peoples. For men and women, they were an important symbol of adulthood. Boys had to demonstrate their skill in traditional activities, such as hunting, to get their tattoos. Girls, meanwhile, had to learn how to weave before they received them. In Atayal villages, only certain female artists could create tattoos. They did this by painting the designs in ash. Then they tapped the tattoos into the skin with an atok, which is a type of pointed tool. Female tattoos, which were more detailed than male ones, could take up to 10 hours to complete. After facial tattoos were banned during the Japanese period, they began to fade from daily life. Though very few people have them today, some younger people have tattoos as a symbol of their cultural identity. Though indigenous culture may change, indigenous pride lives on.
So day 2 of our article begins by saying facial tattoos also played an important role in the lives of Atayal, Sedic, and Truku peoples.
没错 ，played an important role 代表的是担任重要的角色，所以呢，在某个地方担任怎么样的角色，你可以用 play 这个动词来带出 a 或是 an， 加上形容词之后来形容 role 这个字，再加上 in 以及一个地方或是一件事当中，所以呢，我们会说 play a vital role in something， 也是担任重要的角色 ，play a major role in something， 那就是担任重要的角色，主要的角色。那课文说的是文面在泰雅族、赛德克族还有太鲁阁族人的生活当中扮演重要的角色。那第一天我们也讲到 people， 它作为可数名词的时候呢，可以解释为某国啦、某宗教或是种族的人民、民族。那这边就用来代表多个不同的原住民族。
Well, the article continues. It says, for men and women, they were an important symbol of adulthood, with they being the facial tattoos. So let's talk about the word adulthood here. Adulthood is a noun, and if we take away the hood, we have the word adult. An adult is an older person, a person usually over the age of 18. So adulthood is the time when you are an adult. Adulthood is usually from 18 years old, I guess, until you die. There are other words related to the periods in your life, including childhood, which is from, I guess, about 3 years old to maybe 12 years old, and then you become a teenager. An adult is a person who's over 18, but in some cultures and countries, there are different definitions of when you reach adulthood. In some places, it could be 16. In some places, it could be 21 years old.
Adult 这个字呢，代表成人。刚刚你有听到我们的 Reese 在说，那还有另外一个发音是 adult， 两个都是可以的。所以 adulthood 或是 adulthood 代表就是成年的时期。那另外呢，还没有成年，在之前的那个段落，青少年，那就是 teenager。我们大部分的学生应该都是这个年纪。再来往小一点的地方走，那就会是 childhood， 在你的童年里头了。好，那课文说呢，对于男人和女人来说啊，纹面是一个进入成年时期的象征。So, how could they get their tattoos?
Yeah, well, the tattoos didn't come for free. Sometimes they had to do things to earn them. The article says that boys had to demonstrate their skill in traditional activities, such as hunting, to get their tattoos. Ooh, sounds tough. Well, the article used the word demonstrate here. Demonstrate is a verb. The noun would be demonstration, but the verb means to show somebody how to do something, or to show somebody that you can do something. The short form of demonstrate is demo, which means a sample, something that you can try.
Demonstrate 这个动词呢，代表展示、表现或是证明。所以课文说到，男生需要在传统活动上证明自己的能力。那怎么样的活动是 traditional activities 传统活动呢？后面有举例哦 ，such as hunting 狩猎是一个。那如果呢，他能够证明自己的能力的话，就能够来得到纹面。What about girls?
Yeah, girls had to work for their tattoos too. Girls, meanwhile, had to learn how to weave before they received them, with them being the tattoos. Let's talk about what weaving is. Weave, W-E-A-V-E, is a verb, and to weave means to take two or more pieces of fabric or rope or string and tie them together by putting one piece over the other and under the other piece. People use grass to weave baskets. You can also weave your hair. We can also use weave to talk about the way that we move, or the way that a car or bike moves. When a person or a car or a bike weaves, they move from side to side, in and out of traffic or around other people. Here's an example sentence with weave. My grandma will weave me a new scarf using different colored fabrics.
好，那就代表我奶奶将会用不同的颜料、不同颜色的面料来给我织一条新的围巾。所以呢 ，weave 这个字，这个动词代表编织，像是刚刚 research 提到，我们可以用 grass to weave baskets， 我们可以用草来编织篮子，也可以 weave our hair 来编我们的头发。不是用草哈，我只是说可以来编发做这个动作。那课文说到的是呢，在此同时 ，meanwhile， 女生必须学会编织才能够纹面。
Yeah, so the article continues by telling us about these tattoo specialists. In Atayal villages, only certain female artists could create tattoos. They did this by painting the designs in ash. Okay. Sounds good. So maybe it's something that they had to learn or be trained in. But what is ash? A very short word, but with a good meaning. Ash, A-S-H, is a noun, and ash is a gray powder that's made when you burn something. Ash is made of the very tiny, soft parts of whatever you burned. So if you burn wood, after the fire is gone, there should be a pile of ash on the ground. Here's an example sentence with ash. We sweep the ashes from the barbecue into a trash can.
Ash 或是 ashes 复数形，那就代表灰或是灰烬。所以呢，课文说在泰雅族的村落里面啊，只有特定的一些女性艺术家可以帮人家纹面哦。他们会先利用灰烬来设计图案。So what did they do after painting the designs in ash?
Well, then things got sharp. They tapped the tattoos into the skin with an atuk, which is a type of pointed tool. Ooh, sounds like it could get painful. So they are tapping the skin with an atuk. What is tap? Well, tap is a verb, and to tap something means to hit something with quick, soft hits. So if you tap on a window, that means you use your finger to lightly hit the window and make a noise. You might tap the table with your fingers when you're bored. In the article, they explain that tattoos are given by tapping a special tool against the skin. Here's an example sentence with tap. Please do not tap on the glass at the zoo. You might disturb the animals.
是的，在动物园里面呢，请不要轻敲玻璃，因为你可能会打扰到动物。Tap 这个动作呢，常指的是连续的轻敲、轻拍或轻触，所以你可以 tap the table， 轻敲你的桌面，或是 tap on the shoulder， 轻拍别人的肩膀也是可以的。那这里呢，课文说啊，接着他们会用 a duke 来轻拍，让这个纹面留在皮肤上。所以他们不是用一般的 needles， 不是用一般的针，他们用 a duke 这个东西，它是一种 pointed tool， 也就是尖锐的工具。Pointed 这个形容词就是形容东西是尖的。
Did you know, Elsie, in British English, tap has another meaning?
What does it mean?
Well, in American English, they say faucet. In the UK, we say tap. It's the thing that you turn in the bathroom or the kitchen to make the water come.
没错，当名词的时候呢，它指的就是水龙头。
Exactly. Okay, well, back to the article. Female tattoos, which were more detailed than male ones, could take up to 10 hours to complete. That's a very long time.
对呀，而且我们这边看到的 than male ones， 那个 ones 它是指前面的 tattoos。好，所以呢，女性的比起男性的刺青纹面都要来得更复杂一些，所以 could take up to 10 hours to complete。我们这边的 language in focus 文法要看到的是 take， 这个可以表示花费时间的动词。那 take 呢，可以用来表示花费时间。使用的时候你必须要注意哦，主词通常是事情或者是虚主词 it。常见的句型呢，我们整理在下面，让同学们知道。像是第一个 ，it takes somebody 加上时间，再接上 to do something， 代表某件事花人多少时间来完成。For example, it only takes me 20 minutes to walk to my office， 那就代表走路到我的办公室只需要花我20分钟。那另外呢，我们也可以把一般的事情放在前面，你要把事情要把动作放在前方，记得要把它变成动名词哦。所以 something takes somebody 加上时间，像是这样子的例句 Making this birthday card took him a long time， 事情就是做这个生日卡片花了多久的时间呢？花他很久的时间。那再来还有一个花费动词叫做 spend， 它也可以用来表示花费时间，但是主词通常是人哦，那句型就会是人加上 spend 加上时间，后面的动作记得是 VING， 表示呢某人所投入的时间，那投入这个时间去做某件事情。So for example, she spent 3 hours preparing for the English exam， 代表她花了3个小时准备英文考试。那再来呢，课文里面还有一个片语是 up to， 代表高达，所以女性的纹面比男性的细节还要多，所以会花上高达10小时来完成。Detailed 这个形容词代表复杂的、精细的。
Okay, well, back to the article and more about the tattoos and what happened to them. After facial tattoos were banned during the Japanese period, they began to fade from daily life. I guess that's why we don't see so many nowadays. Well, we have the word banned here. Ban, B-A-N, is a verb, and to ban something means to make something illegal or to make something not allowed. If you ban something, you stop that thing from happening. In my school, Pokemon cards were banned because kids kept playing with them in class.
OK，ban 这个动词呢，代表的是禁止，而且尤其特别指官方的禁止。那我们的课文里面啊，你会看到它用的是被动 ，after facial tattoos were banned， 所以被动态你会发现 ban 必须重复字尾 an 再加 ed 才可以变成过去分词哦。所以啊，课文在说的是，在纹面于日治时期被禁止之后 ，they began to fade from daily life. What does fade mean, Reese?Well,
fade is a verb, and fade is, it means to slowly disappear or to get smaller or less. So if a light fades, that means the light gets weaker and weaker. Your memories might fade too. As you get older, it gets harder and harder to remember the things that happened to us when we were young. Our memories fade. And if you're in a relationship with someone but you break up, your love for them might fade over time. Here's an example sentence with fade. Smoking is slowly fading from some societies as people realize the negative effects on their health.
fade 这个动词呢，代表消逝或是逐渐消失，像是灯光 light 可以逐渐消失。Memories 记忆也可能会逐渐消失，还有两个人之间的爱也可能逐渐消失。那课文说呢，在纹面于日治时期被禁止之后啊，他们就逐渐的从日常生活当中消失。
So the article continues, though very few people have them today, some younger people have tattoos as a symbol of their cultural identity. That's super cool. You know, I think tattoos should definitely mean something. And if it's a symbol of your cultural identity, that's something very special. So what about this word identity? Oof. Identity is a word that is packed with so much meaning and feeling and importance. Identity is a noun, and somebody's identity is the way that they describe themselves or the things about the person that makes them, them. We all have our own identities, and they are made up of many things, like where we came from, what our names are, what we like and what we don't like, whether we're a boy or a girl or something in between. Our identities are complex and are always changing. Here's an example sentence with identity. After living abroad for so long, Daniel felt like he had lost his American identity.
哇，所以在国外住了这么久之后呢 ，Daniel 他觉得他要失去美国人的特性了。所以 identity 这个字呢，可以当作身份啦、个性、特性。那有一些搭配字，同学们可以把它记下来，像是 national identity， 那就是你的国家认同 ；cultural identity 就是文化认同 ；social identity 那就是社会认同。所以课文说到，虽然现在很少有人纹面，但是有一些年轻人呢，还是有刺青来当做他们的文化认同 cultural identity.
There we are. Well, back to the article, it says, though indigenous culture may change, indigenous pride lives on. That's good. It's very good. We should all be proud of, our cultures, but as long as we're not arrogant or looking down on other people's cultures. Let's talk about this word pride to end the article. Pride is another word packed with meaning. It's a noun, and pride is a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction from your own achievements or identity. If you have pride, that means you feel good about yourself and what you did, but you can also feel pride for other people or for a country or a culture. When we talk about being proud of an identity or having pride, we're often referring to an identity that has been discriminated against. people feel proud to be indigenous, or proud to be LGBT, or proud to be Asian, because they want the world to know that there's nothing wrong with being those things. Here's an example sentence with pride. It's hard to feel pride for my country when so many bad things are happening there.
Pride 这边是个名词哦，代表自豪得意，所以 feel pride 那就是感到自豪得意的感觉。那如果我们要说因为某事而感到自豪得意，我们可以用 take 这个动词 take pride in something. So for example, 简单的例句 She takes pride in her beautiful house. 代表她因为她漂亮的房子而感到自豪。那你会发现有一个形容词好像跟它长得很像，它是 proud, P-R-O-U-D. 这个形容词就是感到骄傲的，所以呢 be proud of something or somebody 代表对某事或某人感到骄傲。那课文最后我们说到啊，虽然原住民文化可能会改变，但是身为原住民的骄傲，那个 pride 会继续存在。
Very good. Well, I certainly learned a lot from this article about the history of tattoos and indigenous culture. Very, very interesting. So to wrap up, let's go to our For You chat question.
You chat.
So we have a For You chat question today. In some cultures, tattoos are considered beautiful. In others, people rarely get tattoos. Why do you think this is?
I think it's just the cultural difference. 文化上面的不同. So like in Taiwan now, still a lot of people think it's bad to get tattoos. But not like in your country, right?
Yeah, in Western countries, in the UK, it's pretty regular that people get tattoos, and there's not so much controversy about it. But I do know a bit about the history of tattoos in Japan, and I think that's a reason why people in Japan today don't like tattoos very much. So a long time ago in Japan, the government or the people that ruled the country decided that they would tattoo people who were criminals. So if you did something bad, you would get a tattoo so that everyone would know that you were a bad person. So nowadays in Japan, this rule no longer exists, but this culture around associating tattoos with bad people kind of still exists. So if you go to Japan and you have big, obvious tattoos, you might not be able to use the hot springs there. A lot of them have rules against people with tattoos using them.
Right. Also, I also think in Taiwan it's the same thing. People think only criminals or bad people get tattoos.
Yeah, well, as we've learned today, some cultures have a history and tradition of having tattoos that is obviously nothing to do with doing bad things. I think if you want to get a tattoo and express yourself, then you could consider it. But as we mentioned yesterday, tattoos are for life. So make sure you really think about it carefully, because once you've got one, it's there forever.
Right. Think twice before you do it.
Exactly. Well, that's the end of our 2-day article about facial tattoos. I hope you learned something. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Weave. The women weave their own cloth and use it to make shirts and pants. Ash. The paper caught fire and burned up until it was nothing but ash. Tap. When my grandfather falls asleep on the sofa, I gently tap his hand to wake him. Fade. I used to know every single word of this book, but over the years my memory has faded. Identity. As an Asian who was born in the US, Sean feels that he has two cultural identities. Pride. Adam felt a strong sense of pride when his son finished medical school.
智慧小补帖
Adulthood.
demonstrate, ban.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net